A person checking their bank balance on their phone, the number on screen, then a slow exhale, shoulders dropping in quiet defeat. You check the account again. You already know the number. You checked it an hour ago, but you check it again anyway, like maybe it changed, like maybe something shifted while you weren't looking. It didn't. And there's this specific feeling that comes with it, not just disappointment, something heavier. A kind of low hum underneath your whole day. You watch other people post the vacation, the new car, the close on our first house caption. And you feel two things at once. Genuine happiness for them and this quiet, uncomfortable question that you don't say out loud to anyone. Why does it seem to come so easily to some people and so painfully hard for me? You've done the budgeting spreadsheets, you've worked the extra hours, you've read the books on saving, on investing, on just work harder, and some of it helped a little, but there's still this ceiling, this invisible thing pressing down no matter how hard you push against it. You get close, and then something happens, the car breaks down, the job falls through, the opportunity goes to someone else, and you're back where you started, wondering if some people are just built for money and you're not one of them. A close-up of hands nervously tapping on a table. Then cut to a wide shot of a cluttered desk with unpaid bills stacked next to a laptop. Here's what I want to say to you before we go any further, because I think you need to hear it clearly. You are not bad with money. You are not lazy. You are not unlucky. And you're not missing some secret piece of financial knowledge that everyone else somehow got and you didn't. What you're actually missing is something almost nobody explains properly, something that has nothing to do with spreadsheets and everything to do with the invisible field of energy, belief, and emotional state that you walk into every single room, every conversation, every opportunity carrying with you. Some people call it your aura. You can call it whatever feels comfortable, your energetic signature, your internal state, your emotional frequency. The name matters less than the mechanism. And once you understand the actual mechanism behind it, not the mystical, vague version, but the real, psychologically grounded version, you're going to see exactly why money has been avoiding you, and more importantly, exactly what to do about it. Stick with me through this, because the middle section is where this stops being an idea and starts becoming something you can actually use, starting tonight. What your aura actually is. A person walking into a room full of people, and everyone subtly turning toward them, drawn in without knowing exactly why, versus another person entering and barely being noticed. Let's clear something up immediately, because I don't want you rolling your eyes and clicking away thinking this is going to be pure mysticism with no substance behind it. Your aura, in the most practical, usable sense, is the sum total of the energy you radiate before you say a single word. It's your posture, it's the tightness or ease in your face. It's whether your voice carries certainty or apology. It's whether you walk into a room believing you belong there or believing you are intruding. It's the micro expressions that flash across your face for a fraction of a second before you consciously control them. It's the tension in your shoulders when someone brings up money. It's the way you hold a conversation about your own goals, hesitant and small, or clear and grounded. Here's the part that matters most. Human beings are exceptionally good at reading this, even when we can't consciously name what we're reading. Decades of research on non-verbal communication show that people form impressions of trustworthiness, competence, and confidence within a few seconds of meeting someone, often before a single meaningful word has been exchanged. We are constantly, unconsciously scanning each other for signals. Is this person confident or anxious, abundant or desperate, grounded or scattered? This is not mystical, this is measurable. And it has enormous consequences for wealth, because wealth, despite what the spreadsheet-only crowd wants you to believe, is not purely a mathematical outcome. It moves through relationships. It moves through trust. It moves through rooms full of people deciding, often unconsciously, whether they want to do business with you, hire you, promote you, invest in you, refer you to someone else, or walk away. 2 job interviews shown side by side, one candidate sitting nervously, arms crossed, avoiding eye contact. The other, sitting relaxed, open posture, making steady eye contact and smiling naturally. Picture 2 people walking into the exact same job interview with the exact same qualifications on paper. One walks in carrying tension, apology in their voice, a slight need to be liked radiating off them. The other walks in relaxed, grounded, clearly comfortable in their own presence, not desperate for the outcome but genuinely open to it. You already know, without me telling you, which one is more likely to get the offer. And it's not because one of them is more qualified. It's because human decision-making, especially around money, trust, and opportunity, is driven far more by felt sense than by logic alone. We like to believe we make rational decisions. We mostly don't. We make emotional decisions and then build rational justifications for them afterward. This is the aura. This is what we're actually talking about when we say train your aura to attract wealth, not glowing colored light around your body. The actual measurable, energetic, and emotional signal you send out into every interaction and how powerfully that signal shapes the opportunities, relationships, and financial outcomes that come back to you. Why scarcity is loud, even when you're silent. A person clutching their wallet tightly at a networking event, scanning the room anxiously, versus someone across the room laughing easily, hands relaxed, fully present in conversation. Here's something uncomfortable but important. Scarcity has a smell, not literally but energetically, behaviorally. It is almost impossible to hide, even when you think you're hiding it well. Think about the last time you talked to someone who was desperate to sell you something. Maybe it was a salesperson, maybe it was a friend pitching a business idea. Even if their words were perfectly polished, even if they said all the right things, something in you probably felt a subtle pullback, a tiny internal alarm. You couldn't always name it, but you felt it. This person needs this too much. Now think about someone who offered you something, an opportunity, a piece of advice, an invitation from a place of genuine abundance. They weren't attached to your yes, they presented it clearly, and they were just as fine if you said no. Didn't that feel completely different? Didn't you actually feel more drawn to say yes? This is the paradox almost nobody explains clearly. Desperation repels the exact thing it's chasing. Not because the universe is punishing you for wanting money. That's an oversimplified, almost cruel way to frame it. And it's not what I'm saying. It's because desperation changes your behavior in ways that make you less trustworthy, less magnetic, and less pleasant to be around, even when you're saying and doing all the technically correct things. A plant being watered obsessively, drowning in too much water, roots rotting versus a plant given the right amount, thriving. When you're financially desperate, you tend to over-explain, you tend to chase, you tend to say yes to opportunities that aren't actually right for you just because you're scared of missing out on any income at all. You negotiate poorly because you're afraid to lose the deal entirely. You undercharge because some part of you doesn't feel worthy of asking for more, and desperation amplifies that fear into action. All of this is invisible on a spreadsheet, but it is deeply, powerfully visible to every single person you interact with, even if they couldn't tell you exactly why they felt hesitant around you. This is why some people who technically need money the least seem to attract it the most, while people who need it desperately often stay stuck in the exact same cycle for years. It was never about needing money. Less morally, plenty of wealthy people started out needing it just as badly as you do right now. It's about what happens internally, in your nervous system and your behavior, when need turns into desperation, and desperation starts leaking out of every interaction you have. The origin of your money aura. Let's go deeper, because understanding why your current aura formed the way it did is essential. Otherwise you'll try to fake confidence for a week, it won't stick, and you'll conclude this doesn't work. A young child watching their parents argue quietly over bills at the kitchen table, the child's face partially hidden in shadow, watching from a doorway. Almost everyone's relationship with money, their internal aura around it, was shaped long before they earned their first paycheck. It was shaped by watching how the adults around them handled money. Was money a source of constant tension and fighting in your house? Was it treated as something dangerous, something that ran out, something to hoard and fear? Or was it something openly discussed, planned for, treated with calm competence? If you grew up around scarcity, real or perceived, your nervous system learned very early to associate money with anxiety. And here's the critical part. Your body doesn't just remember that association intellectually, it remembers it physically. Even now, as an adult, when money comes up, a raise negotiation, a bill, an investment decision, some part of your nervous system may quietly slip back into that same childhood alert state. even if your current financial reality is completely different from your childhood one. This is why so many people can intellectually understand personal finance perfectly, read every book, watch every video, and still self-sabotage at the exact moment things start going well. It's not because they don't know what to do. It's because some old, deeply wired part of them still associates money with danger, tension, or unworthiness, and that part doesn't respond to spreadsheets. It responds to healing. A rubber band stretched to its limit and then snapping back, representing self-sabotage right at the point of financial progress. I want you to think honestly for a moment about your own pattern. Have you ever gotten close to a financial breakthrough, a raise, a new client, a windfall, and then something happened that pulled you right back? Maybe you made an uncharacteristic impulsive purchase. Maybe you suddenly picked a fight with your partner right as things were going well. Maybe you procrastinated on the exact opportunity that would have moved you forward. This is often called a financial thermostat, an internal set point for how much wealth feels safe, familiar, or like you. When your actual circumstances rise above that internal set point, your nervous system, trying to protect you by keeping things familiar, will often unconsciously pull you back down to the level that feels psychologically normal, even if that level is uncomfortable or painful. This isn't weakness, it's an old protective mechanism, doing exactly what it was trained to do a long time ago, in a context that no longer applies. The work then isn't just think positive thoughts about money. The work is raising your internal set point, your actual felt sense of what level of wealth, ease, and abundance feels normal and safe to you, so your nervous system stops sabotaging your progress every time you get close to something new. The relationship between how you love and how you earn. A couple sitting together, one person visibly uncomfortable receiving a genuine compliment from the other, shrinking slightly, deflecting it. Here's a connection almost nobody makes, and it might be one of the most important things in this entire video. The way you allow love, appreciation, and generosity into your relationships is often a mirror of the way you allow money into your life. If you struggle to receive compliments, deflecting them, downplaying them, feeling awkward when someone genuinely appreciates you, there's a strong chance you also struggle to receive money with ease. Both are forms of receiving. Both require you to believe on some level that you're worthy of being given to, without having to earn it through exhausting effort or self-sacrifice first. Think about people you know who have a hard time letting others help them, who insist on paying for everything, who feel a strange discomfort whenever someone tries to take care of them. That same discomfort, that same reflex to push away what's being offered, tends to show up around money too, an inability to charge what they're worth, a habit of undervaluing their own work, a strange guilt that shows up right when things start going financially well. A hand opening to receive a gift versus a hand instinctively pulling back or covering itself. This is why healing your relationship with receiving in your friendships, your romantic relationships, your family often has a direct, almost surprising ripple effect on your finances. When you practice letting people love you fully, when you let a friend pay for coffee without immediately needing to reciprocate in the same breath, when you accept a genuine compliment with a simple thank you instead of deflecting it, you are literally practicing the exact same internal muscle you need to receive wealth. You're teaching your nervous system, it is safe for good things to come to me without a fight, without earning it through suffering, without immediately needing to give something back to balance the scales. This doesn't mean becoming selfish or taking advantage of others. It means dismantling the old belief that you have to bleed for every good thing you receive, that ease is somehow suspicious and struggle is somehow more honest or deserved. Emotional intelligence as the real wealth skill. A tense business meeting, one person reading the room skillfully, adjusting their tone, while another person barrels ahead, completely missing the shift in energy around the table. Let's talk about something practical now, the actual, tangible skill hiding underneath all of this aura language, emotional intelligence. Almost every major financial opportunity in your life will come through a relationship of some kind, a client, an employer, a business partner, an investor, a referral from a friend. And the quality of those relationships is determined almost entirely by your emotional intelligence, your ability to read a room, regulate your own emotions under pressure, communicate with clarity instead of anxiety, and make other people feel genuinely at ease around you. Here's something worth understanding. People don't just do business with the most qualified person. They do business with the person they trust the most. And trust is an emotional experience, not a logical one. You can have the better product, the better resume, the better idea, and still lose the opportunity to someone with less skill but more emotional presence. Because people fundamentally want to work with, hire, and invest in people who make them feel calm, capable, and understood. A person calmly handling a difficult client complaint, staying steady, listening fully, versus another person getting defensive and flustered under the same pressure. This is where emotional intelligence becomes an actual financial skill, not just a soft, feel-good concept. The ability to stay regulated when a negotiation gets tense. The ability to read that a client is anxious and needs reassurance rather than more information. The ability to sit with silence in a conversation instead of nervously filling it, because you trust that your value doesn't need to be constantly proven through words. These are not personality traits you either have or don't have. They are trainable skills, and every time you strengthen them, you are quite literally training your aura, because your aura is simply the outward expression of your internal emotional state. A story about two freelancers. Two laptops side by side, on two different desks, one cluttered and chaotic, one calm and organized, representing two different internal states. Let me tell you about two freelance graphic designers I want you to picture. Roughly the same skill level, both starting out around the same time. The first one, we'll call him Marcus, took every project that came his way, no matter how underpaid, because he was terrified of an empty inbox. He'd respond to client emails within minutes, sometimes apologizing for delays that hadn't even happened yet. When clients pushed back on his pricing, he caved almost immediately, dropping his rate rather than risk losing the job. His work was genuinely good, but something about interacting with him felt slightly uneasy. Clients could sense, even if they couldn't articulate it, that he was working from fear, not confidence. The second designer, we'll call her Priya, had comparable skill, but a completely different internal posture. She took on fewer clients, but she was selective, calm, and clear about her pricing. When someone pushed back on her rate, she didn't panic. She simply explained her value calmly, and if they weren't a fit, she let them go without resentment, trusting that the right clients would come. She wasn't cold or arrogant. She was simply grounded, unattached to any single outcome, because her sense of worth didn't hinge on any one client saying yes. Within 2 years, Priya's business had grown steadily. Better clients, higher rates, more referrals, because clients who felt her calm, grounded energy trusted her more and told other people about her. Marcus, despite working more hours and taking on far more projects, was still stuck near the bottom of the market, exhausted, resentful, and unable to figure out why his hustle wasn't paying off the way he expected. The difference wasn't skill, it was aura, the internal state each of them brought into every single interaction, which shaped how clients felt around them, which shaped decisions, referrals, and ultimately income. How to actually train this? Now let's get into the part you actually came for, the practical training, the real usable steps to shift your internal state and therefore the energy you're bringing into every room, conversation, and opportunity. First, regulate your nervous system before high-stakes moments, not during them. A person taking 3 slow, deliberate breaths before walking into an important meeting, hand resting calmly on the door handle. You cannot walk into a negotiation, an interview, or an important conversation while internally panicking and expect to radiate calm, grounded energy. Your body will leak the truth regardless of what your words say. Before any high-stakes financial interaction, take even 60 seconds to physically regulate slow, deep breaths, relaxing your shoulders, unclenching your jaw. This isn't fluff. A regulated nervous system is the actual physical foundation of the calm magnetic presence we've been talking about this entire video. You cannot think your way into calm energy while your body is still in a stress response. You have to physically settle the body first, and the calm state of mind follows. Second, practice receiving without deflecting. Start small. The next time someone compliments you, resist the urge to deflect it with a joke or a, "oh, it's nothing." Just say, "thank you." The next time someone offers to help you or do something kind for you, let them, without immediately scrambling to repay it in the same moment. This feels uncomfortable at first if you're used to earning everything through effort. That discomfort is exactly the old wiring being challenged. Each time you let yourself receive without resistance, you are directly training the same muscle that allows wealth to flow toward you with less friction. Third, get honest about your financial set point. A person writing in a journal, the page showing a simple, honest list of memories and beliefs about money from childhood. Take time, genuinely, to write down what you absorbed about money growing up. Was it safe or dangerous? Was it discussed openly or hidden in shame? Did having more of it feel associated with greed or with freedom? You cannot change a belief you've never consciously identified. This isn't about blaming your upbringing, it's about finally seeing the invisible script you've been unconsciously following, so you can consciously decide whether you want to keep following it. Fourth, speak about money the way you want to feel about it. The language you use shapes the emotional state you carry. If you constantly say things like, "I can't afford that," "money is always tight," "I'll never get ahead," your nervous system absorbs those statements as ongoing instructions, reinforcing a scarcity state. This doesn't mean lying to yourself about your current numbers, it means shifting the framing. Instead of "I can't afford that," try "That's not a priority for my money right now," which is often more accurate anyway, and puts you back in the position of someone making empowered choices rather than someone who is powerless against circumstances. Fifth, detach your worth from any single financial outcome. A person calmly closing a laptop after a deal fell through, taking a breath, and looking out the window with steady composure rather than despair. This is perhaps the hardest and most important shift. As long as your sense of self-worth rises and falls with every deal, every client, every paycheck, you will radiate the exact desperation that repels the opportunities you're chasing. The goal is not to stop caring about outcomes, caring is healthy and human. The goal is to stop needing any single outcome to validate your worth as a person. When a deal falls through, you can feel disappointed and still remain fundamentally grounded, because your worth was never actually tied to that deal in the first place. This detachment, paradoxically, is often what allows the next, better opportunity to actually land, because you're showing up to it clean without the residue of desperation from the last thing that didn't work out. The mindset underneath all of this. A person standing in an open field at sunrise, arms slightly open, calm and present, not reaching for anything, simply standing in quiet readiness. Here's the deepest layer of this entire conversation, and I want you to really absorb it before we close. Most people relate to wealth as something they have to chase, wrestle, and force into existence through sheer willpower and hustle. And to be clear, effort matters. Nothing here is telling you to sit back and manifest your way to riches without doing any actual work. But effort without the right internal state is like rowing a boat with a hole in it. You can row as hard as you want, but you're still taking on water faster than you're making progress. The deeper shift is moving from a chasing relationship with money to a receiving relationship with it. Chasing comes from a place of lack. I don't have enough, so I must grab and force. Receiving comes from a place of trust. I am building genuine value, I am showing up with integrity and skill, and I trust that value to be recognized and rewarded, without needing to strangle every opportunity out of fear that it's the last one I'll ever get. This shift in posture changes everything about how you show up, your negotiations, your pricing, your relationships, your decision-making under pressure, and it is available to you regardless of your current bank balance, because it's not actually about how much money you have right now. It's about the internal relationship you're building with the version of yourself who is capable, worthy, and calm enough to hold more than you currently do. The final shift. The same person from the opening scene, checking their phone, but this time calm, unbothered by the number, setting the phone down gently and continuing their day with quiet confidence. I want you to remember the moment we started with checking that bank balance, feeling that heaviness settle into your chest. I want you to notice something about that moment now that you might not have seen before. The number on the screen was never actually the source of that heaviness. The heaviness was the old belief, the old nervous system pattern, the old story about what that number meant, about your worth, your future, your capability. The number is just information, What you attach to it, that's the aura. That's the energy you carry into your next conversation, your next opportunity, your next relationship. And that, unlike the number itself, is something you have genuine, immediate power over, starting from the very next breath you take. You don't need to wait for your bank account to change before you change your internal state. In fact, it works the other way around far more often than people expect. The internal state shifts first: the calm, the worthiness, the regulated presence, the willingness to receive, and the external circumstances follow, because you start showing up differently in every room, every relationship, every opportunity that crosses your path. Money was never actually chasing the people who need it the most desperately. It moves toward calm. It moves toward trust. It moves toward people who have made peace with themselves enough that they are no longer radiating fear every time the subject comes up. That peace is available to you, not someday, once you've made it, right now, exactly as you are, with exactly the number currently sitting in your account. Start there. Train the aura first. Watch what starts to move.